Welcome to episode 15. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, it's Giovanna from bumperleads.com, and we help businesses of all shapes and sizes bump up their sales, inquiries, and profit. I was actually a bit hesitant to publish this episode as we're in kind of a global recession. At the time of the recording, everyone is talking about the C word, the COVID-19 virus, and the governments all around the world are scrambling to fight this invisible enemy. One way to fight this is to stop mass gatherings of people, which obviously makes it harder for business owners to do business. One thing coronavirus is doing, actually, is teaching us a valuable lesson in business. And that is, just like your body, to survive any future virus outbreaks and prevent any negative impact on your business that could infect, pardon the pun, your staff and family, we have to stay lean and mean. And this is why I think this episode is so timely and why I think I should publish it, despite the circumstances. I'm interviewing Chris Davis, who is the founder of Automation Bridge and a dear mentor of mine, who believes that we should all be systematizing, as he says, templatizing and standardizing in order to enjoy working in our businesses, no matter the climate we're in. Even in times of recession, according to Harvard Business Review, businesses that are focused on improving their operational efficiencies would enjoy a dramatic uplift in profits during times of recovery. I will include this link on our website so you can read the full report. And now let's tune into this episode, and I start this episode by asking Chris how he likes to start his day.
Yes, so Giovanna, I am a father of three and married. So even if I wanted to, I'm forced to get up early if I want peace and quiet. So okay. I get up around, my body will wake up around 5:30. My alarm clock goes off at about 5. So if I wake up at 5:30 or 5, I can already tell if it's going to be a good day or good morning. If I'm up at 5, I'm just like, this day is going to be great. I like to get the majority of my work done by the time other people are waking up or arriving to work. So by 9 a.m., I've pretty much got all of the hard tasks, those heavy tasks that just kind of weigh you down and you put them off. And then 2 o'clock comes, you're just like, I'm not doing that. So I like to do all of those up early in the morning. But before I get to work, I actually, I wake up, I do a devotion, write in my journal, get clear of mind, and just kind of like whatever is there, whatever's on my mind, I get it written out and I'm just present in the moment. And then I ease my way into the day by coming out of that devotional time with writing down what I need to get done. And even if it's digital. So if you use it, I use Airtable and Asana, more so Airtable than Asana to manage all of my projects. I'll look at it and I'll still write it down because I'm just clicking the checkbox. I don't know. It's different when I just write that check in the box of myself. So, and I'm just a big fan of writing. There's something that is, I know they have scientific research that shows that when the physical friction from your pen and paper makes ideas in your brain more concrete. So it may be that, but I just enjoy doing it. And once I have my list down, my to-do list, or I call it my execution list down, and then it's green light, and I go right into the day. And if it's something that I know is going to take me longer than like lunchtime, because if I'm not done with all of my work by lunchtime, I'm just like, Chris, what are you doing? Right? Like if you're up at 5:30, you should be done by noon. That's my rule. But if I know something's going to take me longer, I'll put like an asterisk or something by it to know that I'll be doing this later on in the day.
Yeah. I was speaking to my life coach, Jill. She was actually on this podcast, and she said there is no such thing as a to-do list. There is only a must-do list.
Yes.
So I'm consciously thinking, okay, I must do 3 things. That's the only thing I can do on my to-do list.
Yeah. And you have to be realistic. And that's why I changed it to execution plan, because it's like, this is what I'm committing to executing on. And if it's unrealistic, don't put it down. So
Yes.
some days I have 3 items because I know my energy, and maybe I've done a lot the day prior. And it's just like, you know what? I don't have to be as heavy today. So every day my job is not like, I don't force myself to have 5 items or 5 to 10 items every day. It's just
Hmm.
all in the flow.
Yes. Well, I guess you're all about systems.
Yes.
All
Very much
systems
so.
go, Chris. That's the name of your new podcast.
Yes. Yes. And that's how I live. That's really how I live my life too.
So I told our listeners about your business, the Automation Bridge.
Yeah.
Would you like to share maybe from your view, like what your business is about and how you help clients with systems?
Yeah, right now the current state, which is I never would have thought it to be this, but it's an online publication where I do education on marketing automation, and the goal is that the tagline of the website is grow your business online automatically. So I exist solely to provide education around what everybody is trying to do, and that's automate their marketing. And it stems from me trying to figure it out prior to and failing miserably. Just a real quick backstory, Ivana.
Yeah.
I was an electrical engineer working at Lockheed Martin. The only way that I knew how to make more money was to work overtime. That's it. Like my
Oh,
world was that limited. So when a friend of mine gave me the book, The 4 Hour Work Week, it rocked my world in 2 ways. One is it showed you that you could make more and do less, which I was like, this dude's a liar. This Tim Ferriss scam artist, get out of here. Right. But then what got me is it introduced technology as the means of doing it. So I
yes.
didn't know how, but this book, which I started to believe because I've always been tech savvy, was saying that somehow you can use technology and make more money by doing less. That was the seed. And then later that seed was watered by internet marketers like Pat Flynn, Brendan Bouchard, Jeff Walker. And then I started to really believe, like, wait a minute, I think this is possible. But when I came out, I didn't understand that. And this is part of why I'm so heavy on the education, that your marketing is really an extension. I like to call it a representative of you, right?
Mm,
So if your
yeah.
marketing is representing you and you don't know what to do in your business, your representative is not going to be able to do what you don't know how to. Now you
Yes.
layer automation on that. Automation is a magnifier. It now magnifies to the world that you don't know what you're doing.
Yes.
And that's where I found myself. I found myself talking to a lot of people, not making any money, getting any results. And I had to go back to the drawing board and say, you know what? You can't know all this technology. I had like every tool, subscription to every
Mm,
tool, knew how to configure it, knew how to build stuff, but I didn't know how to market and run a business. So with that painful experience and, working with startups and helping them leverage technology to build systems and make millions, I said, listen, the world has to know this, and not in a
yes.
way that's just like, hey, buy this funnel and start making money. So
So how did you get started? So you're at Lockheed Martin and you bought
yeah,
the book. And what else did you do?
you know what, my I I have an interesting journey in every time I've been fired, it
Fired.
has
It's a good word.
catapulted me into another industry. So at Lockheed Martin, they fired me and I was just like, you know what? Forget the corporate world. I'm never going back. So I just wanted to learn I just wanted to make money on my own. So I started doing web development because I
Okay.
could use code, right? I was like, hey world, I could build websites. And man, without knowing how to position yourself and market, at that time I didn't know how to do either one of those. That was just tough. I mean, I was struggling to get somebody to pay me $500 for a website back then. They're like, oh, WordPress is free and this and that. So anyways, after, working with websites, I realized it wasn't the website. It was what's behind the website that makes it
Yes.
profitable. And that was my entry, into, oh, maybe this, now I get all of this tutelage from these internet marketers, this 4 hour work week. It's really the back end automation. So
Yes.
that began my journey in automation. And let me not, I will be remiss to not admit that I listened to a Mixergy interview with a gentleman named Jermaine Griggs. And he was like the mastermind of automation. He was talking about it in ways I'd never heard of it. And that I knew at that moment, with $0 in my pocket, no means of marketing, that's what I wanted to do. And I set out, I started writing blog posts about it, right? Picking up tools, writing about my experience. And lo and behold, Yvonne, it's been my blog at Automation Bridge, that has opened the door for every startup that I've worked for.
Wow.
So those were my humble beginnings, like the short, non explicit version where I talk about the days of my failures that led me to sleep on the floor with the bed next to me because I didn't feel worthy. But for for the most part, that is the sequence of events.
That's great. I also found you via that Automation Bridge blog. I remember when I was in a similar situation, I quit my job and I really wanted to do something that was, aligned to my personal values.
Yeah.
And automation was something that I really was drawn to because I have spent over 12 years in the procurement supply chain, which is all about being efficient, cost savings,
processes.
All of the processes were important. And also having my first business that I sold was looking at the business as a product and how we can efficiently work with this product. And then as a business, it has all these moving parts. And so if you just put it into chunks, you can really manage these parts easily. And then when I I think I was looking for, at the time, I was looking for a mentor. And I came across your review on ActiveCampaign. And then I checked out your blog. And then I signed up to your webinar that you had. And in your email sequence, it really, I connected with the story and I watched this webinar and I'm like, this is the guy I need to talk to. And I remember reaching out to you and emailing you because you didn't have this mastermind or something that you currently now have. And I said, I need you to teach me what you know. And so you were really open to the idea, which I'm really grateful for. And I always tell people who I talk to that you've changed my life. Pretty much you're like instrumental to my growth. This automation, the systems and everything that you're all about, that has changed my business and how I approach things. And I also now, share that with my clients. Everyone is really amazed and wowed with all of the knowledge that we have now. So thank you so much.
Oh man, you're welcome. You did the work, Yvonne. I remember early in the days, all of our dialogue, and it was just like really a lot of mindset stuff, know, and and just working through that. But you did the work. You did all of the work. So it makes me proud because you can know what you're talking about and then you can teach somebody what you know, but it's up to them to receive it and put it into action. And you did that. So you deserve it all. You deserve every penny.
So do you find this with businesses that you work with? I'm assuming there would be smaller businesses in different niches. Do you find they have similar issues with systems when it comes to systems and implementing systems? Are they resistant? Are they receptive?
They're lost. And and what I found is that every business is struggling with the same thing. The symptoms look different depending on the level that you're at. Right. Yes. So there's two ways I operate in my business. One is direct to the marketer. Right. That's you and I, similar to our arrangement, where I'm helping the marketer shorten their learning curve so that they can serve the space better. And if you could serve the space better, more accurately by streamlining your processes, understanding your packaging, your positioning, getting very clear on what you offer, how to price it, all of those things, your business will grow just as a result of that. So that's one side, right? The other side, so if I call that my B2C side, my B2B side is working with startups that, anywhere from 10 to 55 million in annual revenue. They have the same problems. They have the exact same problems. The thing is, a lot of times these companies, they're making money in a way that's not leveraged, but they're making money. But when you get in the back end and start looking at the systems, they're all broken. They're all broken or non-existent or all over the place. And they're really waiting to find somebody who could help them build out what they know they should be doing. And that's what business is. You're always going to have that ugly spot on the wall in your business, or that ugly room where you're like, hey, don't go in there. No matter who you are. I have those still to this day, but it takes a mature entrepreneur to know that some things all things have an expiration date. And depending on what those things are in your business, you could be out of business soon. So if your lead generation, your way of generating leads has an expiration date, I would be terrified, right? If your way of systematically closing leads is not leveraged or sustainable, it's just a matter of time before you're out of business. So that duration of operating without systems is very much like the sands of time, the little capsule where you flip over, but you don't know it, right? No. You could be making millions, and then all of a sudden something shifted, or the inevitable that was always going to happen. But when you have systems in place, you're able to navigate that space and make those adjustments a lot more effectively and stay in business.
Yeah, exactly. And I think systems will also help you add value in the business.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And it amazes me. I was speaking to a few business brokers, and one of the biggest things they see is that there is a demand in the marketplace where it's a buyer's market. There's a demand. People are looking for businesses to buy where they are essentially able to have a side hustle that can run without them, or they can still have a full-time job, or they'll have 3 or 4 different businesses, and they'll have a business that runs without them being involved. So if you can build a business that is going to be systemized to the effect that it gets the owner of the business out, it removes him, but it's still leveraged, it still has the systems in place to work, without the owner. It's growing, then that's a perfect scenario.
Yeah, and that's a great way to think about it, because I've talked to many people who either work at a high capacity at a venture capitalist firm, or the owners of them, and they'll tell you those are one of the first things that they look for is, hey, do you have systems in place to generate leads and close them? Yes or no? There is no discussion. Yes. It's like yes or no. Okay, well, let me put you in this category.
And so you've been working with a lot of these variety of different businesses and different types of business owners. And how do you deal when people come to you and say, I want to use, this CRM, and, I want to use this website tool.
Yeah.
Do you kind of go back and say, wait a second, why are you looking at the tools? What's your business about? How can we fit this for purpose?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that. I just was tagged in a post on Facebook by one influencer that I'm good friends with, and that was the nature of the question. Is they start with the tool. I never start with the tool ever. In fact, whenever somebody does, I literally ignore everything they just said. I don't even make a comment. Like, oh yeah, you're doing it right. It's usually they'll tell me, should I be using this, and that? Or they'll say, I'm using this. How do I do this or whatnot? I'm say, well, maybe what you're asking could be solved with what you're using. But let me ask, what are you trying to achieve? Right? Like, what are you trying to do? Because most of the time, Yvana, especially when we talk about marketing, automation, two-headed monster, and most people don't have the weapon to slay one of the heads. Right. So one of the heads is marketing. The other one is technology. Less than half of business owners understand how to market their business. And even less than that understand technology. So you mean to tell me I'm supposed to listen to you on what you think is right for your business from a technology and marketing perspective? Absolutely not. I've slain too many monsters to know what it takes. So why would I even attempt, you're handing me a butter knife. I've got an Excalibur sword. That's what it's going to require. Why would I use your little butter knife? So I don't pay attention to it at all. I I'm not offensive when I say it, but yeah, I have to get back. I have to get back to the processes before. And I would say even before the processes, I have to know the goal. Like, okay, what are you trying to achieve and why? Okay, so if that's the point, why are we even talking about a CRM?
Mm.
Well, I thought that a CRM, so that entire discovery. And if somebody's not willing to go down that discovery, a lot of people are just looking for a quick fix. In my podcast, I call this the automation ambulance. They just want to call the automation 911 number. You show up and administer help, and then they're all good. And it just doesn't happen like that.
No, I agree with that. I also think a lot of business owners out there think that they could hire a website developer to do exactly what automation specialists might do. And this landscape of digital marketing is so generic, it's so wide that, you can't expect every single person involved in digital marketing to know the systems and know how systems work. Think about processes, and setting structure and process and systems in the business to attract and convert those strangers into customers. A website designer might only be focused on making that website pretty. And then
Absolutely.
you think about all the plumbing. I always say all the plumbing that goes in, that's like the extra stuff that really you need to know once you get the business going, especially if you're starting out, because we get a lot of people who are starting out and they look at this from a cost perspective. And it's really hard for them to divorce themselves from the money. I have to pay $10 a month for this.
Yes.
Well, do you know how much time it's saving you?
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. I talked about it actually in my recent podcast. I think it was the marketing layer. And I'm just I was telling people how to introduce marketing into your website to where you don't have to bother your web developer to get your marketing up and running. Your marketing is not reliant on a web developer. And in that, I said exactly what you said. The web developers, most of the time, they offer marketing as a value add to get more clients. It's not that they know how to market. Most of the times when you're talking to a web developer or a designer and they say, hey, look, and you'll even be able to capture leads. That means they're going to use a built-in module that says subscribe to my newsletter and hook it up to MailChimp. And then you're thinking, I've got a website that can generate leads. And then a real marketer is looking like, who did this?
Yes. I was just literally doing this for a client, and I was testing the opt-in. She said, oh, we've got these free chapters, and I go on the website, and I just, as we're talking, I'm putting in my email address and I'm testing it, and there's errors everywhere. Every single form has an error. She's like, oh, but I thought my developer would say, do this thing. They would test this. I said, well, it's kind of hard to expect them to do that.
Yes.
It may have worked. Who knows what happened now? But I said it's a common problem with this type of plugin because of the API calls and because I already exist in the database. So all those nuances of what happens during that process, she was really shocked. She was like, oh my God, I'm losing money. I'm losing leads because of this. I'm like, yes, that's such a simple thing to do.
Right.
Also, I know that when we worked together in the past, I really liked your definition of what marketing automation is. And I think it's really something that I always go back to. And it is all about marketing strategy. Like you said, we're using technology to help us execute a marketing strategy. That's where tools like you mentioned MailChimp. And I was going to ask you, what do you think about MailChimp now?
Yes. It's funny because people think I'm harsh on MailChimp, and I'm not. I really am not. MailChimp has a place in the market, but I look at it and I look at the market as split up in three areas, right? You have email marketing, you have email automation, and then you have marketing automation. My only issue with any platform ever is when you claim to be something that you're not. MailChimp is email marketing, email automation at best. Because the differentiator, when you say I do marketing automation, what you're saying is I have a CRM where the automation is around the contact and not just the email address. MailChimp is not that. Everything they do is relative to that email address. You can't exist in the database without it. And if that email address is on multiple lists, you're paying 3 times for the same person. You're not a contact, you're an email. So just that alone excludes them from being marketing automation. Now, when I go to the website, that's not their claim. They're claiming to be marketing automation and automate your marketing. This and that. And I think it's more accurate if you just say automate your email. I think
Yes.
that would be a more accurate statement, because what it does is it sets a false perception in the minds of people. And I think they know it because MailChimp is at such a lower cost. And now when someone signs up with the promise of marketing automation, they can say that, hey, I'm using marketing automation. They're not left out of the club. But in
Yes.
reality, all you can do is send an email and do some automation around that email being sent. Am I saying that that's a bad thing? No, absolutely not. If that's all you need to do, if that's all that your strategy requires, MailChimp is the perfect tool. But from my experience, most people using MailChimp need more. So is it a good platform? Yes, MailChimp is a great email marketing platform. I have used it for clients in the past. I know my way around it. I prefer not to use it ever, just for the record. But it's not marketing automation. And I just want people to be fair on both sides. I don't think it's fair for MailChimp for people to expect that from MailChimp. And I don't think it's right for MailChimp to set that expectation.
What about tools like all-in-one solutions? I'm thinking about the Infusionsoft and Ontraport. These tools have a bit more smarts than MailChimp. They have the CRM, they have segmentation, they have visualization of automations. What do you think about people who use those tools?
Yeah, there was a point in time where all-in-one was the only option that you had. This was around probably 2013 ish, and it was a great value add. Like, all of your marketing under one hood. But as technology evolved and more software was being able to put in the cloud, it really disrupted that, because now the 5 things that you claim to do, I can get 5 separate tools that do those 5 things way better and a lot of times much cheaper. But what that introduced was the ability to integrate these tools. So there was a point in time where the all-in-one had the market just because people couldn't adapt fast enough to understand how to make tools work. But look at where we're at now, Yvonne. Even if the tool doesn't integrate, which tools are integrated now at a level we've never seen. I mean, I remember back in the 2013 days where you would find a tool that you wanted to use and you would search and be like, do you please integrate with my email marketing tool, right? Please integrate with my platform. And it wouldn't. And you would be stuck like, man, it doesn't integrate. Well, now almost all of these tools talk to one another. And if they don't, you have Zapier, right?
Yeah.
So those changes in the market really put the all-in-one in a position where people were like, I appreciate all you've done for the space, but I don't need you anymore. Right? It's like a harsh breakup. Like, look, I still have love for you. And it's not you, it's me. Well, maybe it is you, but I'm moving on. Right? So people are not afraid of multiple tools and integrating the tools. And what's the reality, Ivana? Even if you had that all-in-one, Ontraport and Infusionsoft, you still have to get other tools to integrate.
Yes.
So it's not really an all-in-one because at the end of the day, you're still going to integrate. Here's where it hurts. Their API is not built for that integration. So a lot of times it's like pulling teeth trying to integrate. Infusionsoft is a lot better than Ontraport. Ontraport should be ashamed of themselves, how their API is currently written and the state it's been in for all of these years. I am just shocked that they would allow that to go on. It's like they don't want people to play with other tools. Like, hey, only these tools allowed in the sandbox. Get those tools over there. And that's why I believe their growth has always been stunted, over the years. So
exactly. I think they were also introducing a scheduling tool as part of an all-in-one.
Terrible.
That's a lot of different features to maintain and improve and innovate versus Acuity or Calendly. And
like, Yvonne, why would I do that? If Calendly and Acuity, especially if I'm already using it, the idea, listen, I get the idea. Oh, I could just log into one place, but that's outdated. People are logging into multiple places now. Somebody doesn't say, I'm not going to use Twitter because I only want to log into Facebook and be able to access all of my social media. People aren't saying that. No, they've got a Twitter account, Facebook account, they've got Instagram, So this idea that you're saving somebody, they're logging into their website, they're logging into their bank, they're logging into their email. Like, it's where we're at. Logging in is not a big issue anymore. So a lot of the promise that the all-in-one gave in the past over time has just expired. The value has just diminished.
Yes, I agree. I was just going through this comparison between Ontraport and ActiveCampaign for a client. It was really difficult for them to understand why not to use all-in-one solution. But after we've actually evaluated and said, hey, you're planning on building this new website, you're going to use WooCommerce, you're going to use this custom type of scheduling app. Well, you can't really integrate WooCommerce with Ontraport. At the moment, as it stands today, you have to use a third-party plugin. Then you have to use Zapier for this. And then you have to add this on. And it just kept going. And I'm like, what's the purpose now?
What's the purpose? Yes.
Yes. And so what do you think is the future for marketing automation? Because people think email is dead and everything revolves around email.
I think we're going to see two shifts. One is machine learning is coming, whether we like it or not. And I don't agree with it in terms of marketing automation because I don't trust it. And along with that, I don't think people understand marketing enough to start leveraging it. Right. So you don't understand the psychological the psychological triggers to be mindful of in just a basic email follow-up sequence. Right? Like, hey, in the beginning, you're dealing with buyer's remorse, even if it's just an email. So you want to make sure you establish credibility, build rapport early, understand that engagement is going to drop. Make sure you use these psychological triggers in your email headers, headlines, and all of that. If you don't understand that, what you're going to do is buy a tool that says we will automatically create the best headline for your customers. And now you're thinking, don't have to figure that out. The tool will do it for me. It's a lie. No tool can do what you don't know how to do. It just can't. It needs to be programmed. And if you're relying on the artificial intelligence to be the programming, you're always going to be behind in your marketing. As of right now, I have not seen any machine learning application to prove me wrong. Or give me any confidence in it. I hope it does change. But if you're telling me I'm going to change the content in your email dynamically for you on your behalf, get out of here. Come on, man. Like, stop it. You just stop it right now. Right. But I do think that is the future. I really do. Along with that, Yvonne, this is really good. And this is good because we talked about all-in-one. The all-in-one now is shifting. Okay. So if we look at, this is amazing. You sit back and you look at this stuff, it's very fascinating. You look at ActiveCampaign, the appeal of ActiveCampaign 4 or 5 years ago was that they were solely marketing automation in a day and age where all-in-ones were claiming you have to be using us if you're going to do marketing automation. So in comes ActiveCampaign and says, hey, look, we don't do any of that other stuff. We just do automation. That's it. So now everybody's like, ooh, and then ActiveCampaign says, and we're going to open it up to where you can integrate with any tool. We're going to make it so easy that you can just create this custom stack. It's one of the things that drew me to work for the company, right? Yes. But check this out, Yvonne. Check out what the space has done. I think what we have to be mindful of is the intelligence of the business owner with respect to digital marketing increasing and their willingness to operate their business online increasing. Those two things create a very interesting state that we're in. So now you look at ActiveCampaign, and I can't tell you the amount of times somebody has called in with a specific idea. Like, let's say you're a salon artist or a hair salon stylist. There it is. And you're looking at ActiveCampaign. You're coming in there. You just want to know, how do I make this work for me? Okay. In my business. And they look at all of the features and think they need to be using all of it. So what happens is the person who's helping you, whether it's internal rep at ActiveCampaign or somebody else, they're really taking ActiveCampaign and customizing it for a specific application. So if that's the case, what has Active Campaign become? It's become an all-in-one in marketing automation. But what is the all-in-one? Not the tool. The all-in-one is the market. Hey,
Mm.
we serve all markets for marketing automation. So what I'm seeing with the market maturing, people's willingness to embrace technology for their business increasing, is that we're going to see verticalized automation applications. That's going to
Mm.
be the future. So if you're a barber, there's going to be a barber app that does the automation, only the automation you need. A barber needs to schedule, needs to send reminders, and needs to send out promotions. That's it. And keep a database of, hey, when's the last time you've come in? Right? Do they need tagging and deals? And they don't need any of that. You see
Mm.
what I'm saying? So in that sense, if I come into Active Campaign, it's like all of this stuff. Do I need it all? And these are the questions that you would start hearing. I know I started to hear
Mm.
them a lot internally. And it was just like, man, and then you have the guilt of not using everything. Oh man, I'm
Yeah.
paying for the CRM. I don't even use it. And in my head, I'm always thinking like, well, do you need it? But when I'm working there, I can't say that. you know, but but now it's just like, well, no shame if you're not using any of it. If you're a CPA, you're probably going to use more of a CRM type function. Maybe you're not using all of the tagging and attribution and this and that, right? So now the all-in-one has become relative to the amount of markets you serve, specific to marketing automation. So the future is going to be, I firmly believe, we're going to see more apps based on automating verticals.
Yes, we've seen, I think even that white labeling of Active Campaign
Mm-hmm.
is quite popular,
Mm-hmm.
and customizing for, let's say, the real estate industry, all of those. And it comes with all the bells and whistles that you need to run the business.
Yep.
Fitness is a big one. Um,
Yes. So fitness is a good one too, because mind body pretty much is like the go-to. But let me say, I've never used mind body
mhm.
personally. I just know that there's so much frustration around fitness owners around it. They're
Yeah.
just like, I just can't get it to work. I hate it. This and that. So I can't speak from experience. I'm just reporting on behalf of the numerous fitness trainers that say that. What's another good example too is Kartra. Kartra
Yeah.
is a good example of an application that says, "Hey, look, we're just going to target authors, consultants, and course creators." I think they're too wide, but I get what they're trying to do and say, "Hey, let's just give them automation that they need." There's no there are no deals and stages and anything extra. There's no online messaging on your website like pop-ups and all of that. They don't have that. They have pages, webinars. They have some simple tagging to follow up afterwards, some membership options, the core needs, essentially for a coach or consultant. And we're just going to see more of it. We're just going to see more of it.
What do you think, as a small business owner who doesn't have any systems, what do you think would be the bare minimum they should have?
Yeah. It depends on if they're new to business or if they're in business for a while and they just have never put systems in place. If you're in business for a while and you haven't put systems in place, the good thing is you're closer than you thought, because you
Mhm.
just need to sit down with somebody and help them get your processes out. I call it process pregnancy, right? Like it's all in your head. You're just executing on the fly. You know what you're doing. Nobody else does, right? Like you've never seen it. So when you give birth to those processes, it's normally in the form of a flow chart. That's my favorite. If I play Dr. Davis, the baby that I would deliver from your pregnant head would be a flow chart. It would be a flow chart with some documentation so you can clearly see what you're doing. So we can now start to marry the appropriate technology with the
Yeah.
processes that you're taking. Right now,
Yeah.
if you're just getting started, I can really simplify this. The first thing that you need to do requires no technology except a Word document. You need to sit down and clarify what your offer is. Always start with your offer. Always. Because if you don't know what you're offering, you don't know who it's for. Right. So when you're clarifying your offer, a lot of people think, Yvonne, that they have to build it. Like, let me go get a graphic designer and let me get somebody to do. You don't need any of that. You
Yeah.
just need to be clear so you can communicate what you're offering to the market. Right. Next, once you have your offer, the system that you need to get started is your lead gen system. Because now you're going to test your offer to the market, and they will tell you how receptive they are of it by the amount of people that give you their information. Just keep it really simple. And if you can't generate, just imagine this. I had an idea. I clarified it, put it in front of an audience that I thought it was good for, and nobody bit. Immature marketer would be like, oh man, it's not working. I need to, a mature marketer is like, whew, save me hours, maybe even months of building something that the market doesn't want. They don't want it. So let me go back and refine it. We're just working in a document, right? Like anybody can do this, Yvana. Anybody can do it. My daughter, she's 12. They know how to use Google Sheets or Google Docs. Right. But you know what it is, Yvana? It's the lure of skipping steps and jumping right into the technology. When the most powerful thing you could do, especially if you're just getting started out, is really clarify what is it that I'm going to offer? Who is it for? And who am I going to turn down? Right. Like these are good questions to ask. Nobody ever asks, especially if you're just getting started, because you think you're going to serve the world. You're like, everybody needs this. Oh my gosh. How did people not think of this? It's like, okay, everybody may need that, but who needs it right now? And who are you going to start serving right now? And being able to just define it down. All of that is work on paper. Like that's the unsexy part. But if you do it and then equip it, couple it with a lead gen system. Let's take the flip side, right? Let's take the invert of my previous example. What if you did that and you got 1,000 leads within a week? Right? Like how much more inspiring is that you have something now that the market wants? And guess what, Yvana? Since you've done your work and like clarified it in a document, guess what that document automatically translates into or converts into? It converts into the specs for you to deliver to somebody to build. They know exactly what to build now. You see what I'm saying? Like, keep it simple, everybody. Do not overcomplicate this thing.
It's amazing how many early stage business owners complicate things so much. And when you look at, large organizations like Microsoft or Apple, they don't sell, thousands of different products for different markets. They just have one software and then they create a phone to go with the software and a computer with the software. Like it's not it's not that difficult to scale a business. Absolutely. And so I've really enjoyed talking with you, Chris. I know you wanted to offer something to our listeners. Feel free to share what you're currently doing and where they can find you.
Yes. So this is exciting. Everybody, as of right now, as we're recording this, this is my first podcast of 2020. So yay. Yvana has made history in the year of 2020. She is my first podcast, and I think it's fitting, right? Yes. So what I'm doing, and this is where the excitement comes in. Every year, Yvana, I don't like to change my marketing too much, right? Like I'm old school, and that means by if it's working, work it till it doesn't work. That's what I live by. I don't easily make adjustments and just because somebody else is doing something fancy. I change my webinar probably maybe once a year, or every other year. So I'm creating a new webinar, and it's called the Lead Magnet Lie. Okay. This is my trailer, my teaser, and it's why using multiple lead magnets is annihilating your marketing. Okay. Yes. So I have that training. Or that it's really going to be a masterclass. So I say that to say this is not going to be like 30, 45 minutes of light stuff. We're going to get heavy. I'm going to graphically show you how you not focusing on what you need to focus on is killing your marketing. And what most people are doing is they're just out there creating multiple lead magnets. So that's a free masterclass. That's a free masterclass, as well as I have a course. It's a mini course. If you just kind of want to work your way up, I call it my engagement marketing course. Both of those will be available at automationbridge.com/bumper.
Fantastic. Love it. I will include that in our show notes as well, so people can
Yes.
easily find it. It's been a pleasure talking with you, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing your wonderful knowledge in
Yes,
the
you're very
automation
welcome.
space.
This has been great. Thank you.